Hello, everyone, and welcome inside CFP Today. It is Grey Cup week. How'd that happen? Monday, November 11th, 2024. Thank you for being here, as always, supported by Fox 40. Go to fox40shop.com, use CFP15 at checkout. They've got all sorts of great stuff for you, including, we always talk about the football stuff here on CFP Today. Why not go get their marine stuff? They got lots of stuff for when you're on the boat. Get ahead of it. Maybe even some off-season deals. Who knows? Go and check it out. Fox40shop.com is where you can go check out all of those things. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a little bit of a look forward at the quarterback stuff, specifically Nick Arbuckle up against Zach Collaros, what that matchup will look like today. On top of the losers of the East Final and West Final, respectively, the Montreal Alouettes and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who I firmly believe these two teams should play for like an extra draft pick or something. I don't know. How can we possibly incentivize having the teams that lose in the division finals get a chance to play for essentially CFL bronze? I don't know. Nobody would probably want to do that. Probably against a bunch of stuff in the CBA. Whatever. We're just spitballing around here. It's all good. So with the losers, here's the first thing that comes to mind for me. And every single year I'm reminded of this, but it's never feels normal regardless. You bust your ass your entire offseason, lifting, training, working through things, trying to get better and better and better and better. You get into training camp, you go hard, you got to push the body, you got to get up to speed, you got to get into rhythm, you got to get on the same page with everybody, you got to install the offense, and then you go 18 games over 21 weeks, and it's a grind, man, it's hard, and then it's over. It never seems fair. It feels as though for the Montreal Alouettes, they had essentially had the division locked up since July. Obviously, that could have changed because there was a ton of games left and lots of movement, but it was like the Argonauts waiting for Chad Kelly to come back. They weren't going to do it. Hamilton's inability to win some close games just kind of showed that they were a little bit flawed here and there. Ottawa, I thought, had a real chance at one point in the season to potentially win the East. They drop all the way down to third because they couldn't put together anything in the second half of the season. And so Montreal kind of sails in there, and it's like Davis Alexander and Cody Fajardo, and they're balancing, they're juggling things around, and then it's just done. It's like that. Like you blink and it's just over. And I was calling the Yates Cup up in Waterloo, Laurier against Western, so I didn't have a great chance to be able to watch this thing thoroughly through as of yet. But man, like just that's got to be crushing for an organization. It always blows my mind when the team that gets the extra week to prepare themselves can't figure out a better way to get the job done. I don't know if that comes down to coaching or rest versus rust conversations or these things we talk about every single year, but it really feels like a missed opportunity for Montreal to capitalize on what they have built there over the last year, which is a very, very special program and Jason Moss leading the helm. So for Montreal, that was just my thought. And then on the other side for Saskatchewan, this was my biggest takeaway because this was my kind of feeling going in. For the Riders against the Bombers, if not now, when? Like, when are you going to have the running back who's fresh because he's been out with injury, but he's worked his way back up and he feels like he's peaking? When are you going to have a defensive back who's leading the CFL in interceptions and at the top in special teams tackles? When are you going to have the veteran established quarterback who's coming in after his own injury spell but has had enough reps in that sweet spot, the Venn diagram of injury and in rhythm, meets perfectly in the middle, has all these weapons? When is Samuel Emelis going to look like he's looked this season again? You don't assume he's going to look like that every year. Like, when are you going to have Keen Schaefer Baker that healthy, that like, when? So for Saskatchewan, my whole thing was just, if not now, when? And that's going to be the question, because guess what? Winnipeg's hosting the Grey Cup next year, and they're not just going to give up the West Division to Saskatchewan at any point. And this is the weirdest part, I think, coming out from kind of the post-game reaction and the locker clean-out, whatever you want to call it. Trevor Harris saying, does this organization have a chance if I'm here? If the answer is no, I don't want to be here because I care about this organization way too darn much. Easy, Trevor. Not comfortable with the language there, okay? Darn. They deserve the top tier of everything. And if I'm not that, I should walk away, and I will. End quote. What are we to make of that? That honestly, what am I supposed to make of that? Because it feels like, Bo Levi Mitchell did the leverage thing as soon as the season was done, where it was like no longer the Tiger Cats display picture, and I've had a great time here, and I hope that my time in Hamilton continues. I'd love to be here. We'll see what happens. First of all, what's the better option? Because would you take Davis Alexander right now over Trevor Harris in Saskatchewan without having led that offense? Maybe. Outside of Davis Alexander, depending on what Montreal decides to do, it's like, well, I don't think Cody Fajardo is coming back, although I could be wrong about that because look at Arbuckle. He's played for Toronto and then not Toronto and then Toronto and then Ottawa and then not Ottawa and then Ottawa. And yeah, he's been all over, obviously. But people do go back to places they used to be, but a Fajardo reunion would feel very, very, very strange if Montreal decided to go with Davis Alexander. Anyways, these are all off-season questions, but it really did get me into the off-season free agency mindset and the way that the musical chairs will spin when Trevor Harris had that quote. So he said, I promised myself before the season I wouldn't think about anything past this year until after the season. After the catastrophic injury I had last year, I wanted to make sure I came back and I was a tier 1 quarterback. I love that. I would love to know Trevor's full tiers. If you want to make sure he was a tier 1 quarterback, he must have a breakdown. Is it like up in his home on a whiteboard where he like 6 faces? I don't know. But I would love to see that. He said, I was focused on giving this organization a chance to compete for championships. If I wasn't able to do that, I knew for a fact that it'd be time to be done. I think the process starts now. So again, it's really not a leverage play by Trevor Harris. He's like, hey, if you guys think I suck, just get rid of me. And it's like, well, is that the ultimate sign of respect, or is that just a weird way to approach off-season bargaining? Because I talked to other people who said that in different interviews throughout the locker cleanout, he was like all in, like, yeah, I want to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity they've given me, and this is a great organization, and all the rest. But those comments, to me, I feel like we'll probably look at those whenever the reality shakes out, and those comments won't mean anything or matter. But just a very strange way to kind of wrap up a strange Rider season. Let's be honest. Like, that was a weird one for them to be hot at the start, freezing cold in the middle, beat Zach Collaros and the Bombers in the regular season with Shea Patterson when Zach had a good game and Shea didn't, and then lose in the West Final again against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So, interesting one. Tomorrow, coming up, have a bit of a breakdown on the quarterbacks, as I said. Thanks for listening, everybody. CFP Today, presented to you by our good friends over at Fox 40. We'll talk to you tomorrow.